doesn't feel like a regular Mercedes. And it's not because it's front-wheel drive. It's because it has a dual clutch transmission. What the heck is a dual clutch transmission? Just about all the things we thought would never happen in the auto industry have happened. We've got Aston Martin and Lamborghini SUVs. We've got electrified powertrains in sports cars, and we have electric cars selling by the millions. There was a time when we thought there would never be a front-wheel drive Mercedes-Benz, but now, after 11 years, Mercedes, I can say, has perfected front-wheel drive technology. The 2024 CLA 250 is one of the nicest entry-level luxury cars you're going to find. Instead of just standing here talking about it, let's go for a drive around Detroit. So the first thing you notice about the CLA 250 is it doesn't feel like a regular Mercedes. And it's not because it's front-wheel drive. It's because it has a dual clutch transmission. What the heck is a dual clutch transmission? It's essentially a manual transmission that is shifted automatically with electric solenoids. It's not a traditional hydraulic automatic. And there are some times when you're driving it, it just feels a little weird. Not clunky, not unrefined, it just feels different. It's an 8-speed automatic transmission, and it works generally pretty well. If you want to drive a little sportier, you've got your shift paddles here, and it's fun, it works. But really, that's not what this car's about. This is an entry-level luxury car. Starting price is around 45 grand. Our test model has got some options on it, and the price is bumped up to like 54,000. An interesting $1,750 option is the Hyper Blue paint job. Now, if we pass any Mercedes-Benzes out here, they're going to be silver, black, or white. The most unhappy colors you can ever imagine on cars. For some reason, Mercedes has got this tradition where they paint everything in, I don't want to say dull colors, but just business-like colors. If you look at the hood and down the sides of this car, this is a happy-looking car. The color is fantastic, and I think it really, really suits the Mercedes well. I wish Mercedes-Benz would come out with a whole palette of happy colors. You know, bright reds and this color blue and maybe green or some other fun colors, because really, Mercedes-Benz are, I don't want to say they're dull to look at, but they're just so predictable. When this car showed up in this nice color blue, it was a really pleasant surprise, and I think it works really well. I want to say one other thing about the styling. If you look at the taillights and the headlights and the way the trim is affixed to this car, they really paid a lot of attention to aerodynamics. It's a quiet car on the road, and because everything is so flush mounted, it helps keep wind noise down, and you can really tell the difference when you're driving. It's a really nice touch. As with every other Mercedes-Benz, you're going to find a lot of electronic gizmos and devices in here. You know, it's like, and sometimes in my mind, I think the German engineers try to outdo each other. The Mercedes engineers take a look at what BMW is doing and try to do one better. And so sometimes I think the customer pays for that, in that it's really difficult to figure out like really basic functions. You know, this is a Mercedes-Benz entry-level car in another way too. Just about any other Mercedes you get into, this is going to be real metal, right? I mean, it's not going to just look pretty, it's going to feel substantial to the touch, but this is just plastic here. It's a little disappointing that Mercedes would do that, but it's a $45,000 car, and the average transaction price for a new car these days is right around $44,000–$45,000. So, you know, it is what it is, but it looks nice and it works well. Cars are decidedly out of favor these days. Everybody, take a look on the roads. Everyone's driving an SUV. If you wanted to drive a car and you had 45 grand to spend, this is a pretty nice way to do it. It really is. It gets good fuel economy, really good performance. It's got a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that makes 221 horsepower, which is plenty of power to get this car moving quickly if you want. I drove it for a week. I really like it. You know, if you buy the car, you're going to get used to all the electronic controls and how to use it. So even that is probably not a detriment. When you think about it, you could spend 45 grand on a Honda Accord these days. Cars are really expensive. So I think it's commendable that Mercedes is making a car that breaks with their tradition of rear-wheel drive and is taking the long view that if they can get customers interested in an entry-level car, that maybe when they can afford something more expensive, that they'll stick with the brand. That's really what the mission of the CLA is to introduce customers to their first Mercedes-Benz and give them a taste of what it's like to own a German car that's been engineered for Autobahn driving and feels as comfortable at 50 as it does at 150. Not all entry-level cars work well. Over there is a Jaguar X-Type, which is really a Ford Mondeo in Jaguar clothes. That was a disaster for Jaguar. But the CLA has sold pretty well in its 11 years because it's a Mercedes from the front end bumper to the back. It doesn't borrow anybody's chassis or anybody's engine. It's a real Mercedes. And I think buyers have recognized the fact that, yeah, it might be a front-wheel drive car, it might be an entry-level car, but it's a Mercedes-Benz.